Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another show of the Cool Down. We had some good results this weekend, but before we discuss those results, we have the usual cast in today. We've got Wonga Denga, Lolo Selo Kale, and Nick Stothard, who I'm surprised isn't smiling, even though his side had a great victory on the weekend, Nick. Oh, wait, there it is. The smile's coming out.
I've got a big smile. I've got a big smile. And a new top. Got a birthday present.
Oh, yes. The latest jersey.
Yeah, well, it's actually not the latest one. It's the last season of Rafa. And actually, I'm quite happy with that. Last season's jersey I didn't like too much, and this season has Steve Bruce written all over it. So yeah, I'm happy with this, and a good win this weekend. So yeah, I'll take it any day of the week.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's a good cue to start off with the Newcastle game, or should we rather speak about the big one that happened over the weekend?
Let's go with the big one. What's that? Wonga getting one over Silla there. Tell us, boys, what happened?
Yes, what happened? Arsenal won. But no, I think I was really happy with that win. They said Arsenal hasn't won there in how many years? Was it 4? What was it, low?
Since 2006, so 14 years.
No, it was 14. It was 14 years. Yeah, I thought I read it wrong. And usually when I hear stuff like that, hey, something's gonna happen. And at least this time it was for our team. But yeah, look who's on the bench? Shaka on the bench. And how did that work out for us? I think that worked out very great. I just hope look, if he plays better, I don't have a problem with him starting. But you saw Al Neni. I never looked at the stats, but that guy covered a lot of ground that game.
He did.
And Shaka can cover that much ground, but I don't think in that much time. That's the problem. And I think, that was a big factor to us winning was that midfield. He hit the post. They hit the post.
You had a proper workhorse. I'm saying you had a proper workhorse in Al Neni playing in the midfield. And obviously Thomas Partey as well is obviously a defensively sound midfielder, which obviously stifled any form of passes that Man United were trying to put together, because I think from the first minute Man United didn't even put 5 passes together. They'll put in 2 or 3, and then boom, next thing it's blocked by Partey or Al Neni, and obviously that worked in Arsenal's favor because nothing went right for Man United. I think the only time when Man United something went right for them was the beginning of the first half. But apart from that, man, it was basically they were being frustrated and they just didn't do the basics right, man. And
for me, Partey was the signing we were speaking about 3 weeks ago. He was just a box-to-box animal who would cut up play, and when he gets the ball out of his feet, he can ping that pass. And he honestly looked like a man possessed, and there were moments when I thought Arsenal were really on top, and in stages where I thought they were actually far better than Man United, and sadly, because I am, believe it or not, Celo, I am Pogba's biggest advocate, because I honestly think there is a player there. There honestly is a player there, and he made Pogba look like he wasn't a World Cup winner. And for me, that's disappointing, And I think, it's just people speak to me and they're like, "Oh, Pogba must just pack his bags." But I just think, I don't know if he's been managed properly. I think he is a bit of a baby. He is a bit of a spoiled brat.
100%.
He is a World Cup winner for France, where he was the MVP. So
true.
Thomas Partey shouldn't be coming and dominating a Paul Pogba. Paul Pogba should be bossing the show, especially at home, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's the weird thing with the Pogba is at the beginning of the season I could have said coronavirus, whatever. But like the game against Leipzig, he played well. And then against PSG, when he came off the bench, he played well. And then even for France, now against Croatia, he played very well. And then also the other game against Portugal, he had a decent game. So I can't say that he's not been playing well at all. So it's it left a lot to be desired. But that whole midfield didn't play well at all. No one in the midfield played well for Man United. Fred was not making good passes. McTominay didn't offer much. Bruno Fernandes lost the ball a couple of times, didn't create much. Literally, the only players I could say that had a decent game was the defense, because the defense thwarted Arsenal. So Arsenal never really had much clear chances, except for the clear chance that Saka had that went over the post, and maybe the shot of Willian. But apart from that, Arsenal didn't have like clear-cut chances where De Gea had to make like a amazing save or anything like that. So defense was okay, but the midfield, that's where we lost it. You know, Partey and Elneny just bossed the midfield, and that allowed Arsenal to have some few attacks and so forth. But Man United really didn't have much happening with the midfield, and I think also not having Martial was big, man, because Rashford can't do what Martial does in terms of holding up the play. You know, balls will come to Rashford, and then he's not used to like having a defender right behind him to hold up the defender and then to play other players in. He always needs the ball in front of him to attack and obviously terrorize the defense. But having his back against the defense, it's not his type of play.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, Martial was really missed in the week.
Yeah, I think so what you're saying there is, I think, for Man United side, I think you're right, they did miss Martial. I think they only played, they had to now revert to one up front, which was Rashford. But yeah, Rashford really wasn't the one playing alone. I think Greenwood was most of the time in the box himself. But I mean, had Martial be playing, I mean, you know, his close control, dribbling 1v1, I'm pretty sure would have given Holding a bit of a problem as well. But I mean, looking at from Arsenal's point of side, also from looking at Arsenal, I think if I look at the way he set up for the game, I was trying to think, I mean, how would he set up without having David Luiz there? And yeah, then he put the three at the back, and it's nice to see like how versatile Saka can be as well. I mean, they started him on the left. We can go left wing, or we can play him at the, I mean, left mid, or we can play him as, I mean, the left wing back. Let's say it like that, or we can play him as a left wing. And then he put it was Tierney, Holding, and who was a defense?
Gabriel and Holding.
The Gabriel, who's been good as well. Yeah.
Gabriel was lucky to stay on the field. Gabriel was lucky to stay on the field.
What did he do now? I didn't watch the whole game myself. My lights got cut out.
Sorry, man. No, second half, Greenwood had the ball in the right hand corner and then got past him. And then after getting past him, he got tackled, right? So that should have been a yellow card, and he was already on a yellow card. So it should have been two yellow cards for him. Like literally, everyone was like, that should have been booked. But I think Mike Dean, I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know if he wanted to keep everyone on the field. That alone, if he hadn't been booked before, he would have gotten a yellow card. And Mike Dean to turn a blind eye and not give him a yellow card, which I think. We need consistency in the Premier League, man. If you could,
100%.
He was giving a lot of yellow cards, in the match in the first half. Gave Holding. Who else did he give? I think he gave Fred a yellow card. So he was giving yellow cards in the first half. He gave Gabriel a yellow card in the first half as well. But then now in the second half, for such a challenge, he decides to turn a blind eye, which was rather odd, So I think it was one of those. Hey, Claudio, welcome back.
He looks like he's still fighting a war.
But tell me, Selo, honestly, your opinion, and I'm just starting to get slightly annoyed with Ole and sort of his press conferences and his interviews afterwards, and I just don't know, do you feel that he's the man to take you, to propel you into the top four, to propel you into a challenging team again? Because I just feel that you've got the resources, man for man. You're arguably one of the better teams, in the league. But I'm not 100% sure if he's the man to take you there, because I think if plan A generally doesn't work, there's no real plan B. And I go back to a Paul Pogba, and some people might disagree with me, but I honestly think on his day, managed correctly and played in the right sort of system, you can get the best out of him. You got Fernandes, you got attacking players like Martial, you got Rashford, you got Van der Beek to come off. You've got a lot of flair going forward. You got one Mata who's the silent assassin. Is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer going to take you to the next level? For me personally, I don't see it. But you as a Man United fan would probably know a bit more than I do.
No, he's not the man. He's not the man to take the team forward. I think so sometimes he gets it right, and when he gets it right, like Man United looks like one of the best teams in the world, right? And he gets it right. But that's the problem, is that as a manager, you won't always get it right from the go in terms of your setup or in terms of your tactics. You need to adjust in the game, and the thing with that whole diamond formation, right, is that he switched it a bit in that McTominay against Leipzig was the whole. It wasn't McTominay. Sorry, it was Matic against Leipzig was the holding midfielder, and then Fred was on the right, and then Pogba on the left, and then Van der Beek at the top of the diamond. Now he decided to change that and put Fred at the base, and then McTominay on the right, and it kind of took away certain strengths of Fred. And then, for instance, as well, is that in the second half now, when you're supposed to, try to attack more, you can rather maybe sacrifice a center and put Pogba back in the middle, and then rather put maybe another attacker going forward, maybe bring on Cavani. But then what does he do? He brings on Matic. Now, you bring on Matic for Fred. Now he's not being ambitious in terms of going forward. You know what I mean? You're playing at home. Yeah. You need to try and attack. Similarly with the Chelsea match. The Chelsea match was, I mean, you're the home team. Try and attack. He's scared. Like literally, you dented that man's confidence playing at home. Because Man United, last six Premier League matches away from home, 6 out of 6, 6 wins. Back into the previous season, but then at home, it's what I think it's
6 games,
three draws and 3 losses, and the last 6 even going into last season. I mean, so I don't think Ole is the right person going forward.
I mean, you allude to sort of the system he played, and I saw Fred and McTominay both coming to collect the ball, and it just sort of looked like no one knew really what they were actually doing. I mean, like you said, they had that system of a diamond, but you had 2 collectors, and then I mean, I'm supporting a team where my team doesn't really get out the first third, let alone get into the middle third. So if you're having 2 people going to collect the ball, I don't see how you're going to get the ball into the areas with the players that can obviously offer. And I mean, it's sort of a carbon, or actually the opposite of a carbon copy of sort of what Wonga you experienced with your Thomas Partey and Elneny. It sort of looked very fluid, and you had Aubameyang looking like he wanted to get forward. You had dare I say it, Lacazette actually looking all right. So I don't know.
Exactly.
Come on, guys.
A great result for an Arsenal. Is this, after 2 sort of poor performances, Wonga, in the last 2 matches, is this the sort of the I think we might have lost him, but is this maybe?
It sounded like he was in a game and he got shot down, dude. He's out.
Yeah, he's like,
I don't know. Is this the victory that maybe propels them into a position where they can start challenging? I mean, you said it several last week. You said it. Look at the difference between 11th and 3rd place. I think it's 2 points.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. This league you control.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, the one thing that worries me about Arsenal, that we're not conceding. It's good. It's something that last season every game we back at a goal is coming. Doesn't matter what team. We're doing well, but not conceding in a game, especially like against Man United. Especially when I think Liverpool is the game we conceded the most, where we did concede more than 2 goals in the Premier League. I think probably the only one, if I'm not mistaken. But we're not getting enough goals.
No, I think
that's what I'm worried about. We're not getting enough goals.
That's the thing with Arteta, is that he wants to make sure that his team is defense. Oh, okay. But yeah,
keep going.
Is that he wants his team to be defensively sound before going forward. So I think that's what he's done, and I think there was a stat that said Arsenal have conceded 1 goal or kept a clean sheet in 31 of the last 40 matches, something like that. I can't remember. The exact stat, but something along those lines, where it shows that since Arteta's kind of like come through, they've obviously tried to be defensively sound, but obviously yes, you don't want to be expansive and obviously you don't want to score 5-0 and so forth. From Arsenal, you'll see more like 2-0, 1-0.
Sure.
So that's what you'll see. If they lose a 2-1. They're not going to lose. They're not going to lose by 4 goals. It doesn't look like Arsenal will lose by 4 goals, because even the setup on the weekend, it was a straight Man United, but also make sure that when you progress the ball, that you obviously obviously utilize it well, and then which worked for them.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what. You look at an Arsenal now. We speak in after maybe 2 poor results. Maybe they've turned the corner, but a team that's looked like they're quite consistent in turning the corner is your team, Claudio. 2-1 wins in the space of 2 weeks. We had Rich on here last week. It was a tighter affair than maybe some of us thought. Well, some of us thought that West Ham had a chance. But Jota looks like he's the difference once again.
Yeah, no, Jota is on fire. It's 3 consecutive games at home that he's come on and he's scored. Well, the one game he started, but the others he's been absolutely phenomenal. He's been a huge difference. Like I said, we don't just have a B plan now. We've got a C and a D plan, because at the end of the day, the game was quite a tight game, but the difference was him coming off the bench as well as Shaqiri. And the irony in between all of this is that Shaqiri was going to leave the club. Phillips was going to leave the club. And they both played, and they were instrumental on Saturday's performance. Nathan Phillips, by the way, he was given man of the match, it comes a long way to a player that at one point was going to move to the US to play college football and study. And he decided to stick around, and he's all of a sudden after all these years, he's made his Premier League debut. So, and given man of the match performance by the likes of Jamie Carragher as well as a Jurgen Klopp. And I think if you're focusing on what Jurgen Klopp said, he put it correctly, or he described it perfectly, rather, is that Nathan Phillips is definitely not easy on the eye by any means. But he's successful in terms of he gets the job done. His success rate in the air was far better than what we had previously. Joe Gomez, one of his weaknesses, he's very athletic for what he is, but one of his weaknesses is he struggles to win the ball in the air. Fabinho, fantastic footballer, not a centre half, but again, another weakness would be in the air. And Nathan Phillips right at the end with the 2-1 win, hanging on right at the end, having a header that cleared right at the end was the difference in the end for Liverpool. So yeah, well done to a player. Also showing that the squad depth is doing all right, and that Liverpool do tend to do well when they see themselves as the underdog, never mind anyone else. As long as they play with their mentality under Klopp, they seem to be all right. But the one thing I did possibly have an issue with was the penalty that we received. And I'm going to bring it up, not just in a sense that, in my opinion, it was a penalty, but at the same time, there were 6 or 7 penalties similar that happened this weekend that I don't think is fair in the nature of the game, that all these players sort of mulch the situation, and all these sort of decisions tend to favor the attacker. My issue is, like, if you're looking at a Salah, for example, he goes to ground, there's contact, it's delayed. But the way in which he throws himself to the ground, that's the part that's like puts a lot of disdain to the game somewhat, to a certain extent, and to why people frown so much. But like I said, he's not the only one who does it. Harry Kane did something and won a penalty for Spurs on the weekend, yet he was claimed to be super smart and intelligent as a footballer. So for me, it's funny how the double standards come out. But do I like seeing it personally? No, but it was a factor that influenced the game. And also when a defender looks guilty, then the ref's always going to give it. Silo, you wanted to say something?
No, I want to say that, no, man, just touching on your Mr. Phillips, great game and everything, but you guys just forgot to put him in the Champions League squad.
Yep. True story.
That's a big mistake in terms of.
You can't change it now. You can't. There's no late additions if there's injuries.
Yeah, there isn't. I think they should have planned better for that, because I'm sure he could have fit in somehow. Because what's his Reece Williams doesn't need to be in the squad because he's a homegrown player, and I think he's obviously 19 years of age, and he doesn't need to be put in the squad. So similarly, what Man United did, they didn't put him in the squad. He can just be slotted in at any time because he's a homegrown player. So it's unfortunate, because then wrote on that performance and playing against Atalanta and everything, but obviously they just forgot. I don't know what happened, but it's a good player. But as you said, now we're touching on the penalty stuff. Yeah, man, it happens too often. And yeah, and as you said, double standards with the Premier League. Anything that Harry Kane, Jamie Vardy as well. Jamie Vardy, look at the penalties that he got against Man City. When he goes down, he was smart in getting himself in front of the defender, or he was smart in getting himself across the line of the defender. So, defender's running back, and when defender runs back, he runs across the defender. They'll always say that Jamie Vardy and Kane are smart, but yeah, man, Mohamed Salah's and other foreign players will never get that they're smart. They'll say, these foreign 100%. Players to dive, or they go down easily or something. Even though I do feel that Salah tries to milk it too much, but yeah, that is the double standards of the league.
No, look, when I saw it, I thought it was ridiculous. Like, there's enough contact, sure. Look, I don't see. This is my whole issue with these penalty decisions is that a striker can have at least 6 or 7 chances at goal, right? But you'll end up scoring eventually. A defender has to be 100% accurate with his tackle now. He can't even like have like an 80% chance of getting the ball. Like, if he just skims the guy will drop like he's been shot, and it's a penalty. And I feel like that's where I feel like there's a huge disadvantage in this whole scenario, and it's completely unsporting. To a certain degree, it's similar to water polo, where they play for a foul. But but for me, like when I used to ref indoor, maybe that's why there were a lot more fights. But when I used to let those things go, because when I let 1 or 2 of them go, the players stop diving, and they know that he's only going to get a foul when he gets properly kicked. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like these guys can stay on their feet and they can get the advantage, but they rather choose to drop, get the penalty, and get 100% chance of scoring. That's the thing that really grates me.
Like you see in Salah's case as well. Like I agree with you guys 100% on that. In terms of like if he's getting touched, I mean, I think what also kills it is that slow-mo on the VAR. You're like, yeah, look, there's a touch, okay, and he goes down. Like they're just looking at the sequence of events. So there's a touch, there he goes down, and they're not looking like Salah in that position. He's causing no threat to anyone. Can he stay on his feet? Yes, he can stay on his feet 100%. And the way he threw himself down was ridiculous. For me, I think even if let's say Salah's going on goal. He's on goal, the guy's behind him, and literally now Salah's trying to shoot, and now this guy's delaying his shot because he's impeding him like incorrectly. That's a different story, you know what I'm saying? I mean, the touch there now is a different story because now you're literally stopping this guy from putting the ball in the back of the net. But there he's literally facing the other direction, and Salah could have stood on his feet, and the game, I don't think Liverpool would even have scored off that. And I think, he's literally changed the game by giving that penalty. He's literally giving them a freebie. I think even I don't think Pogba's one was in the same.
That was foul. That was a foul. Yeah, that was a foul. Yeah, he was on the wrong side, and I
think you could possibly bring up. So obviously you saw my team won, so we need to be happy.
Your penalty. Your penalty.
No. But I'm on Callum Wilson's side here. Because
it's your team.
No. Let me explain myself. Because
I agree.
the man he was very honest. He said, I worked the whole week to run to the front post, and he worked on that run. Yeah. And he ran to the front post, and the man tried to kick the ball, but he didn't kick the ball. He kicked the player. So I don't understand.
He kicked a bit of him.
No.
Swiped him. He volleyed him. He volleyed him.
He kicked him hard. He kicked him hard. But he was honest to say, I got in front of him and he looked for the foul. Listen, it would have been different if he got a little bit of him and then he went rolling over, but he got properly kicked. He had no chance of getting the ball.
Okay,
I'm not going to complain.
You see the Wilson one, right? I think the Wilson one, we will give it and say, okay, cool, it's a 50-50, right?
Yeah.
So unlike the Harry Kane one, where Harry Kane literally looks at Adam Lallana, oh, he's coming. Literally say, and he literally just stands.
Lallana's got his eye on the ball.
He's waiting for him to give him some contact. I bet you, right? The ref wouldn't have given it if he knew it was going to give it as a penalty. I don't know if that makes sense, because the ref was giving a foul.
I hear you. Yeah,
a free kick.
I hear what
The
you're
ref would give it a free kick. It's a free kick, but a penalty. No, the ref wouldn't have given it if he knew he overturned and said that it's in the box type of thing. You know what I mean?
But
that ref also had a howler, man. Like the goal for Brighton was a foul. Okay, but we'll touch on that one.
I think also if you're looking at like a rules point of view, like I'm also of the opinion. I mean, it's just another debate you can have, but I mean, I'm also of the opinion that like a sport is obviously guided by the rules, and if people in the sport, if you're not following the rules, you're obviously then penalized for them, and I think those people that are less skilled will obviously be penalized. I mean, more. And Harry Kane is probably, in my opinion, he knows the rules. He's put his body in front of the ball. He knows this guy's coming like a madman. The guy doesn't look at it, and the rules say what the rules say, and he gets the kick. And you can say the same thing as Salah as well. The rules say what the rules say. Sees the guy coming, gets his touch, goes on the floor, and he's got his penalty. So I'm just putting it in there. It's not my
the difference between these. Sorry, Wonga. Sorry, let me let you finish your point. You're saying?
No. I'm just saying that was my point. I'm just saying it's not my. I also believe that Salah, that's useless. What he did was crazy. It spoils the game. But then there's also the thing of the rules are the rules, So I mean, how do you look at it now?
So but here's the thing though. It's like let's put these two next to each other, right? The Callum Wilson penalty. Genuine contact. The guy gets swept, right? The issue 100%. There is that where you can say it's 100%, it's definite contact that brings the player down for sure. The striker's smart enough in terms of to get in front of the defender. The defender's not aware enough as to know where the striker is in the first place. That's where you can say, like, I get why that's a penalty. Similar to that of the Pogba penalty, which, by the way, like I call Pogba a show pony. That's actually the one scenario where I actually felt for the guy. I was like, he's tracking back. He's just gotten beaten by pace because the attacker's got in there before him. But those two scenarios are very similar, pure penalties. The other ones, like where you're looking at a Salah, and even in the Juventus game where Chiesa goes down, where however you pronounce his name, but they're looking for that contact, and then the motion in which they go down is not natural. That's the issue I have. That's where a referee can't be like, by letter of the law, I have to give it up, because that's not enough contact to make the guy fall naturally. That's the issue I have in this, because the guy can stay on his feet and do something with the ball. And that's where they don't make the distinction. That's the biggest issue I have with that. And that's when I used to ref, that's how I used to play it. And when guys used to swear at me, I just used to send them off, because I was like, that's how you play football. It's none of this ballerina bullshit.
So the rules, I think then in that case, then someone needs to now 100% what you're saying is 100% correct. And I agree with that. Then the rules for me, they definitely need to be looked at, because you're going to get that the whole time. It's my view. It ruins the game. He's on the corner of the box. He's not doing anything, and the guy defending, like you say, the defenders now are like on the glass in the box. They can't do anything. But now the attackers they can play everywhere freely. That's not fair. It's not a fair game for me. I don't agree. Yeah. But I agree with
No, but even in the Brighton game, there was a scenario where Ben White plays the ball in the box, beautiful little ball. Now the player gets pulled by the shirt. He's literally, he gets held. He gets held.
Yeah.
But they go and review it and they say that's not a penalty. But by definition in which they are giving, the other penalties with the minimal contact, that should be a penalty.
Yes.
So why isn't it the penalties? And that's the frustration.
It went in front of Trossard. It went in front of Trossard, and he was held back from attacking or trying to attempt to attack the ball. I couldn't believe it, man. Like Brighton, I guess the ref equaled it out by giving them a goal when a player actually got fouled, and that ref needs to be banned, guys.
But even that Celo, that foul in the middle of the field, that was a clear foul. Any person, I can explain to someone who hasn't watched soccer in their life that look, if the guy gets kicked,
it's a foul.
The guy doesn't kick the ball, it's a foul. If he kicks the player, it's a foul. A person will say, okay, he's kicked the player, surely that's a foul. No, those guys who know soccer are saying that's not a foul. That goal shouldn't have been allowed. And you can't equal a thing with another goal. Like the consistency is poor.
Listen, based on that, I mean, I was going to speak about Spurs. I think if Spurs had dropped points there, I think Mourinho would have been
livid.
He would have been livid, and it was. I mean, I don't know if we can speak about Spurs now, but I thought that they deserved the win.
100%.
I was happy for Lamptey to score, actually, because I think Lamptey is a special talent, and I think we were speaking about him a few weeks ago. But the Spurs train just keeps going in the right direction, and Gareth Bale coming on 200 seconds, and he scores a goal with pure skill. And it was class. I mean, the way he positioned himself, the way the cross came in, the distance he was from the goal, and he planted in the goal. And that's sort of the Gareth Bale that I hope the Premier League gets to see. And sort of the ammunition.
What did they say? Sorry, Nick. What did they say? It's the last time it's the first time he's received a pass from a Madrid player since 2018.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry,
and I saw Mourinho had a bit of a jab at Madrid. He said, "I'm going to go on safari if I get 5 minutes after this press conference to see what they say about Gareth Bale now." But that is interesting because he hasn't got a pass from a Real Madrid player in the last couple of years. So I'm happy for the lad. It's good for the Premier League. As we said, Spurs keep soldiering on, and Brighton are a tricky test. I think a lot of teams have seen that. They play some good ball. Graham Potter's got them playing out the back. They've got quick players on the sides, and they've got quite a dynamic front three with quick fullbacks. And it's just another victory, and they second on the log. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, they're second on the log, and Mourinho will take that any day of the week. Sorry, I think Leicester might be second on the log now.
Top four. They're fourth.
Spurs, were they not second?
No, they were third and then became fourth. So Everton is
second before Monday.
Everton is third.
Yeah, so second.
Everton was second.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So Everton after two losses stayed in second.
Don't forget Everton. Before these last two losses had only drawn a match, and they won. And then they lost two. So that's what. That's
okay. Points. Sorry, I got it wrong. But yeah, I think it's a great start for them, and I just think. Typical Mourinho. I'm an advocate for him. I'm a fan of him, and I think if he can keep his squad fit and he can keep the goals out the back, that's my only concern. Is if they can keep the goals out the back end, I think they will do something good. And he was quite harsh on those players in the week. I don't know if you guys saw.
He
said it straight. He's like, guys want to know why they're not getting game time. They must know now. They got a chance, and ultimately he's fair. Then is he not fair? He might be shaming them, but he's been fair. He's given them a chance. If you're not going to deliver, then he's not going to play them in the big games. So
like Dele Alli's gone, guys.
Yeah,
he's done for sure.
Yeah,
but what I like if you're comparing, let's take where Spurs are at in comparison to United in terms of what has happened. If you're taking Ole and United losing over the weekend, Spurs busy ticking over those wins, and slowly each win they're putting another piece down, another laying down the brick of foundation. I know they lost Europa, but if we're looking at the league where they can then say this is the focus, I know Europe is one of their big ambitions as well, but the league in this scenario, it seems like it's working for them. That momentum keeps carrying through, that confidence keeps carrying through, and slowly the message that Mourinho does start putting out there starts being more believable. And when we compare when Mourinho was at United, for some reason that harshness wasn't working because the players themselves weren't advocates of what he was saying. He didn't have
one receiving it well. They weren't receiving it well,
but there wasn't one or two of the players that were backing him. In this scenario, if you're looking at Spurs, he's got a world-class player in Kane that he's going from day one, which, by the way, was his incentive or his goal was to get him on side. I think his whole demeanor and the way in which he speaks to the players, addresses them, is being backed by a Kane, because the Kane's going damn straight. I want to win. If you're not performing, you can piss off. So I think that's the difference between what he was doing at United and currently. Look, it's still very early days. I mean, we're only a couple of days, like 6 or 7 games into the season.
True.
When we taking everything into comparison, when you're looking at how the Champions League and Europe's busy playing out, these guys are playing 2-3 games a week for the next couple of weeks. This is kind of like when you're playing Football Manager and everything's on simulation. Yeah. It's just results are flying. So to be able to manage a squad and play the right players and in this process and time and to prevent injuries is something that's going to require a masterclass just to get these results. So
and it's something interesting you say that, Claudio, just on the Harry Kane point. Was there a player at Man United when Mourinho was there that he could get on side to convince the rest of the change room? Harry Kane is that player.
I agree, and I also don't agree with what Claudio had to say. Is because in the second season that he had Man United, Man United finished second, guys, and won the Europa League. Pogba, I think he matched Yaya Touré's goals and assists, like his best goals and assists that Yaya Touré ever had in the Premier League, by like scoring like 15 goals and having like 10 assists, some ridiculous stats and he was in the Premier League's team of the season, Pogba, that season. That season in particular, I feel that obviously Mourinho got the players on side. He managed to get the buy-in of the players bought into his philosophy. Man United ended the season on 82 points, I think it was. And City obviously won the league that season. I think City won it by 9 points or whatever. Actually, no, I lie. Actually, City won it by 18 points or so, whatever, because they were above 90. But that season, he got them on side. You know what I mean? And he had Zlatan, and he had Lukaku and so forth in the squad. That's the season where I feel that he did get the team on side. And I think going forward, he just probably lost it somewhere, where sometimes Mourinho, I don't know, if he gets frustrated in his third season. You've seen it at other teams, guys. You've seen it at Real Madrid. Second season, he beat Pep to the league at Madrid. But then the third season, things fall apart and he just didn't get along with Casillas anymore. They said there's too much of a Portuguese speaking influence in the team. At Chelsea again, he comes back. Second season, he wins the league. Third season, what happens? There's something going wrong. He's fired by November. So it's just unraveled in that way for Mourinho at other clubs, not just Man United. So it's just, I don't know if it's Mourinho, and I don't know if it's just.
I think it's similar to what Pep Guardiola is going through right now as well. I think it's the level of intensity that he comes in and he brings, and there's an expectation that he sets for the players, and he tries to put that expectation onto the players themselves. It's not his expectation. He comes in there and he tells them, "I expect you to be doing this, and I need you to have that of yourself. And if you don't have that, then you don't even make my minimum," which is kind of the reaction he had during the week. So I think after your third season, especially if you performed well, like you said, him coming out at the time saying finishing second place was a huge achievement with the bunch of players that he has. Number one, that comment is a backhanded compliment. It is somewhat undermining. So if you do have an average bunch of players who feel like they've given everything for you that year, and you still come out, and then you also try and sign players, which, by the way, that's where the issues and the politics comes with Mourinho, is that he doesn't back down. So whatever, we all know the type of man Daniel Levy is. But as soon as there's something he believes in, so he gets players to perform, and then he goes, he wants more players. You know, the same thing that happened with, I know we're going way back, and today's show has gone a bit all over the place. But when we're taking Rafa Benitez into consideration, Rafa Benitez lost Liverpool when he tried to get rid of Alonso. He tried to get rid of Alonso, tried to bring in Gareth Barry. It didn't work out. And then he was stuck with Alonso for the season. But what he had was a disgruntled player, a professional, but disgruntled nonetheless. And he saw out the season. As soon as he left, he was done. And as soon as that player left, that was him. He couldn't get another player of the same caliber, and his whole Liverpool went to shit after that. It's the same sort of scenario with a Mourinho. But if there's one thing I want to talk about, Nick mentioning the Gareth Bale goal. One thing I'm picking up, there's a little bit of a pattern in the Premier League, and it's more like the intensity in terms of defenders not defending as much as they used to. And it's kind of somewhat a resemblance to La Liga, in my opinion. I look at Liverpool's first goal that they conceded. Also, ball goes out wide. It's a cross that comes in. And there's just so much time and space that is allowed to the guy whipping the ball in. It's a joke. Because if you take us into consideration when we played, if you go watch my highlight reel, which I can go find somewhere, I give the players 0-0 space. And on the weekend, you got a 19-year-old Curtis Jones, who's a midfielder. He literally backs off the guy with the ball and tracks the runner and allows the guy 3 or 4 meters, look up, ping a pass in. Firstly, the clearance is poor, but then that's how the goal comes in. The same thing with the Bale goal. So much time, so much space. The guy can look up and pick a pass. I don't know if it's got to do with the fans still. I know we talk about this week in, week out, but I'm not too sure.
I think I watched something on the whole fan situation. I don't know if I'm on board with it. I do sort of understand, because I've never played at that level where the fans are sort of 50, 60,000 in the stadium. But, you know, maybe there's an edginess to it when there is a crowd, you know, then you have to be more true to yourself and true to your crowd and make sure that you've got your man right next to you. But then you'd also think on the flip side, you can hear everybody. You can hear your goalkeeper saying, look, check your left shoulder. You can hear the defender behind you saying, listen, there's a man behind you, or there's a man running on your blind side. So I don't know. I don't know if the atmosphere and the environment per se is that much different, that it has actually made such an impact. And, you know, if you looked at the stats, it probably would say, because the amount of goals where there are just 3 players in the box, or there's a pass being bombed from the right back position all the way to the left back position, to the left winger position, and it's taken an age for the right back for the defending team to get across. I don't know. There is a bit of a pattern. It is a bit lackadaisic. Obviously, we like it because there's a lot of goals, but I don't buy that excuse about the fans. For me, I don't know. The only thing that
don't say that too loud. Don't say that too loud, because that's Ole's excuse. After the match, I couldn't believe what he was saying there, Silo. He literally is like, because he's like, your home record's been terrible. He's like, what's the home record right now with no fans?
No, he says it's what is a home and away game? He said home and away doesn't matter. That's a lot of bullshit, because actually, if you're a team from Newcastle, if you're a team from the northeast, and you're playing in London, you got to fly the next day, fly the day before. You got to stay in a hotel. You got to eat there. You're away from your family. Boom, you got to play a game. Then you got to get out and play back. You can't tell me that the away games aren't away games for the away teams. That's a lot of
away game, yeah.
Yeah,
it's rubbish.
It's rubbish.
All is at the wheel.
That is absolute nonsense. But
crashing and burning at the wheel.
What goes every 5, man? What goes every 5?
The right prediction.
The only thing I'm going to say about the non-crowd situation, they said, and it made sense, and one of the ex-players was saying it, I think it was Micah Richards on Sky Sports the other day. He said maybe the only thing is the crowd generally tells you when there's a man on, and that's when you got the ball at your feet.
Fair enough.
That's fair. No, that's fair enough. But you can't tell me that Gareth Bale and the defender that was marking him, or not marking him, for Brighton when Gareth Bale scored was going to be told by the crowd man on at the speed that the ball traveled. So I don't buy the crowd situation. I think teams are maybe being more expansive, maybe being a little bit more creative, because they haven't had much time in a preseason with new players coming in, and maybe it's a bit of a free hit for some teams. It is a little bit. For lack of better words, non-sober, as Matt had sort of alluded to a couple of weeks ago. But I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying a lot of goals, and it's exciting to watch. But it is a bit concerning if you're trying to achieve something, because titles and good finishes in the league are based on good defensive records.
But to that point as well, is that a team like Burnley and Sheffield, they need the fans. Those teams need the fans. Without the fans, 100%. Those teams have nothing. There's no energy. Look, if I look at a team like Burnley, I remember there was a season where they had one player that was from outside of Great Britain. That team literally just has guys from Ireland, Wales, Scotland, and England. That team just requires fans to push on. You know what I mean? And that's how they grind out 1-0 results or 2-1s, or where the last minute you get a Wood or a Barnes in the box header, or a Rodriguez who just came off the bench. Someone just to get a goal. So I think they are those teams that they require the fans. I see obviously Jamesy says the fans are a major impact. He supports City. There is no impact for City. City never have fans in the stadium. You know what I mean? But other teams.
It's no. They do have fans in the stadium. They're just busy sitting on their seat warmers. That's why they're so quiet. That's the problem. They're too worried about getting cold.
A team like Newcastle, man. You go to Newcastle, you go to St. James's Park. That's a fortress. You know what I mean? That's like what, top 5 biggest stadiums, or was top 5 biggest stadiums in the EPL. And it's going to be full. You're going to be singing, and it's going to be a tough.
No, definitely. No, definitely.
But,
and for me, I know I asked most of the question because when I played, for me it made a difference. I always played better when I had people watching, whether it was even 10 of my mates, but versus 10 mates versus no mates, I always played better because I know there were people watching. And even to Nick's point, with mentioning Richard saying you can hear people make a noise. There's just a little bit more that you're able to give. There's a little bit more awareness. These guys are professionals. They should be playing at a certain standard, fine. But it does it drops the intensity naturally. Yeah. The players are still professional. They're still out there going to the job. But even, I think Trent Alexander-Arnold came out saying that for him, it's also been a big struggle because he needs to psych himself up. And with the crowds, it was naturally something that was there. Now it's harder for him, despite being a professional.
Maybe it keeps the players more honest. I guess you could give them that. It keeps them more honest because, they've got something to play for, let alone a result and their club and their salaries. They don't want to be the arsehole that makes a mistake on a Saturday afternoon.
No, definitely. But you know what? One thing they're all forgetting is that the stuff is still being televised. So regardless, they are still making art. Like for me, I don't care if you're a 19-year-old or not. When I was looking at Curtis Jones and what he had done, but even not just with him, he's playing behind Trent, who is also fairly young, but he's somewhat the senior in the scenario. And both of them, Trent was sitting there not marking anyone. Jones literally left the man at the ball, left him while he was right in front of him, and started going to the tracker. Like for me, it blows, the mind boggles. Like I couldn't put it together. I was like, that's immediate danger. Why aren't you taking care of the immediate danger? Explain that to me, guys. Explain that to me.
Yeah, no. Jones proved to himself that he needs to be benched for the next game, man. So unfortunately, he got his chance. It always happens with him. He starts the game, doesn't last past 60 minutes because he's not offering much.
No. But you see, like for me, you get different types of players, right? And you get different types of professionals. And the thing, you get the Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville, like the talent is limited. But they're there and they know the defenders and everything to the cause for the defending. Then you get the guy who's well-rounded, who understands the game, reads the game. He just gets stuck in everywhere, like your Steven Gerrards and, I don't know, give me another example, Selo, Roy Keane. No, Roy Keane is somewhat towards the Gary Neville side. Patrick Vieira is a good example. Then you have the player that is the Thierry Henry, who can literally do what he wants, but when he gets the ball, he's that good. And now the problem with young players coming through the system is because the philosophy of football has changed somewhat, and the emphasis is a lot on attacking football. They think that they are just as talented as some of these players. So they tend to go, when I'm on the ball and I'm looking pretty on the ball, then I'm doing my job. That's where they're getting it wrong. And Curtis Jones, for me, is a young player with a lot of talent, but all he ever looks, and I know he's only 19, so there's a lot of growth, and I'm not trying to slate the guy because he's got a career ahead of him. But the issue is he's a pretty footballer, and right now that's all he's offering to the team. And for me, that's not good enough, especially not at Liverpool. So that's something he's got to think about, and I'm sure Klopp will manage it.
He needs to do more.
Yeah, definitely. But Nick, we haven't actually even gone deep into.
Don't forget Nick. He won, man.
Yes, I know. And Scott Woodhouse has come on now, so I think this is the perfect time for Nick to be bragging because Scott's here and he's listening, and he needs to hear your thoughts.
So I think it was first and foremost, it was great to see Pickford on the bench. Because he's a Mackham bastard, and he's from Sunderland, and he deserves to sit on the bench. And he's got small arms, so he can't really catch the ball. So I think they made a good choice with keeping him on the bench.
He does look like a T-Rex in goals. I'm not gonna lie.
He looks like a T-Rex. He's like this. But yeah, it was great to see him on the bench. But for us to and I spoke about this on Thursday, is I wanted midfielders in the midfield, and I think we got it. We got Longstaff in the midfield. We had Hendrick there. Hendrick didn't look as lost because he had a partner with him, and it sort of gave us that sort of foundation to get the ball forward. Longstaff was picking up the second balls, and we had a lot of balance with Almiron and say Maximum going forward. We had Wilson obviously up top, and we looked to threat. We obviously had our wide fullbacks or wing backs, if you want to call them that, and they were always a threat. But whenever we retracted into that sort of back five, we looked solid. Notable centre back that played very well is Fernandes, and arguably he's been one of the standout centre backs for me this season from majority of the teams. Consistent. He's a good passer of the ball and defensively very sound. So I was very impressed with him. And why are you laughing at me?
Sorry.
Like this. Scott.
Scott, I cannot confirm nor deny these allegations to an upplay with the lad.
So yeah, just based on that, I thought we looked really solid, and we looked a real threat going forward. I was slightly disappointed with Bruce taking off at 1-0. He took off, say, Maximum, and I couldn't really understand why, because I thought he was our only real threat once we got into the final third to create anything, and he brought on Hayden for him. To sort of shore it up, but then sort of when Fraser came on, that gave that balance back, and that Fraser-Wilson combination was for all to see with the final goal. Fraser was deadly with his pace. He took Mina to parts, and he got a cross in, and then as Callum Wilson does at the back post, in that 6-yard box, that's where he scores his goals. And for me, outrageous statement, but I think Callum Wilson should be in the next England squad. I personally think that he should be called up. I see Danny Ings is potentially injured, but I think who should argue? Look at his stats. He's second top goal scorer in the Premier League at the moment. Why shouldn't he be? Why shouldn't he be?
100%.
The problem with that statement, I mean, I'm backing it 100%. The problem with this statement is that England have I don't know where this happened or how this happened, but they've got about like 6 or 7 strikers to choose from, at least. They're all scoring in the Premier League.
Strikers and 6 or 7 right backs as well.
But there's only one right back.
10 right backs to choose from, and 6 or 7 strikers. Yeah, That's true.
So listen,
the striking options, Tammy Abraham, Calvert-Lewin, Kane, Wilson, Ings. Yeah, those are striking options. Obviously,
Bamford's been scoring.
Yeah.
Wilson.
Guys. Listen, guys. Bamford is a good player. Did you see the chances that?
No, but listen. How these? Yeah,
he still needs to prove himself a bit more. Whereas the other guys, I'm not saying that Calvert-Lewin has proved himself, but I'm just saying that Calvert-Lewin compared to Bamford, let's say Calvert-Lewin and Wilson compared to Bamford, who would you rather have?
Look, this is what I wanted to say, is that football is an interesting thing, and tournament football is even more interesting. Yeah. Premier League football, over a span of a season, that's where you can say, okay, pedigree of a player, consistency. Tournament football is all about the form and there and then. Yeah. And if you've got a player like a Bamford who's scoring he doesn't score the rest of the season.
Yeah.
But he scores in the last 5 games just before a major tournament comes up. That player needs to be considered because his confidence is on another level and everything works in waves. And that's where you want to take a player, because even if he doesn't start, bring him off the bench. He's going to be like, fuck, I've earned this. I'm going to get on there. I'm going to do something. That's how football works.
For me, I would have Wilson in the squad, because if you look at majority of his goals, and I've looked at a couple of his goals that he had scored for Bournemouth, he scores in and around that 6-yard box. And I don't know many of the strikers that we're talking about. Kane sort of adapted his game. He does score those goals, but Kane is liking to take his shots outside the box and turn in defenders and sort of combining. But Callum Wilson isn't going to score you goals from outside the box or just inside the box.
He's a bottom feeder. He's picking up scraps.
Yeah, he is that Michael Owen of old. He's that.
Michael Owen wasn't really a scrappy guy. He wasn't scrappy. Look,
not scrappy, but he found himself in those areas. He wasn't scoring worldies from outside of the box. He did score his fair share, but he was finding himself in that 6-yard box, and that's what for me.
Hey, no. Listen, and don't disrespect Heskey, bro. Heskey, listen, Owen was nothing without Heskey. Owen was nothing without Heskey, guys. Heskey was incredible. Like the goals that he was that player. He was the bouncer version of Bobby Firmino.
He's the unsung hero for Barcelona. I know. Now I know. He works these songs.
Everyone remembers that.
But what I wanted to conclude on with Newcastle is, I've been very unhappy, and I'm still unhappy with who's coaching our team. But what was proved on the weekend is there is quality in the squad, and if you play in a certain way and you give them that chance to express the way they can play, they can go and beat an Everton who was second on the log or first on the log or whatever it was. Yeah. Yes, they were missing James and Richarlison, and I'm going to speak about them now because that just proves how little depth Everton have when they go when they go play against a team like Newcastle and they lose 2 players in their front 3 and they go and lose like they did. And listen, there was only one team winning that game. Ancelotti can say whatever he wants. It was maybe a fair result, 1-1. No, Newcastle were the better team. They had more chances. Their keeper was the busier keeper. They are in trouble if that is their starting 11. If they lose 1 or 2 players, they lose to a team like Newcastle, who will probably finish between 9th and 14th. So I'm happy. Bruce needs to play the right system, let the players go, and maybe we'll get another win. I don't know, but we'll probably lose next week. Probably.
No. Who you playing next?
We're playing Southampton away. Southampton away.
Oh no, but Southampton are.
Is Danny Ings okay? They said not as bad, but still.
Yeah, but did you see the injury though? Oh, it didn't look good though. Oh, it was like a little knee twist, and it wasn't nice. So I would rest him. I'll tell the coach to rest him just for my sake.
I see Scott puts an interesting comment here, and he says, based on me saying playing a player in form, when in the Champions League final Pochettino decided to play Kane ahead of Lucas when Lucas was the player on form. And you know, it's interesting is Pochettino was on, I think, Monday Night Football last night, and they asked him.
Sorry, Claudio, I need to interrupt you. He's speaking about this because we actually had to do this in our A license. We watched the game together, and I don't know if he got Spurs or Liverpool to analyze, but I'm assuming it was Spurs because I don't think he was too happy with that choice of not picking Moura. But yeah, carry on.
Yeah. So what is interesting was Pochettino was on Monday Night Football, and he actually said, because they said, you know, he chose to play a not fit Kane because he's still a world-class player, and he'll still stand by that choice. Personally, I think that's where you went wrong. Rather bring a player who's not fully fit off the bench who is world-class, because if you've got a Lucas Moura is flying, if he's flying, and the team can then put a certain pressure on the likes of a Liverpool, and then bring a player like that off the bench, I think that's when Liverpool starts questioning themselves and starts putting themselves under pressure. But we didn't do that, and we have a Champions League final or a trophy. So that's
he doesn't. Yeah.
No, and he did. By the way, good news for you, Selo. He did say he's ready to start working again.
Yeah, no, don't worry. They even made a joke about. He said something about the color of the shirt or something, and then they said, "Aren't you wearing like a red shirt underneath your whatever?" But listen, that guy is ready. Solskjaer, you know what happens when Solskjaer has pressure? Solskjaer just wins matches. So I'll be surprised if he wins tomorrow and then wins today again. So, hey, man, you know Solskjaer.
He's the Theo Walcott of managers, my man. That's what he is. That's what Solskjaer is.
Yeah,
I see Marcus there. Huh? Marcus is saying well done for the weekend.
I didn't see that, Marcus. Thanks, man.
I see James is reminding us of obviously Che Adams and Armstrong for Southampton. So so Newcastle won't have it all their way with Che Adams. Especially Che Adams has been good, man. So
we'll speak about that on Thursday. Don't you worry, bro.
Don't
you worry, bro.
I'm gonna touch on Chelsea or is it a boring victory?
Nah, look. Look, the Chelsea thing, before we move on to the Chelsea thing, I do want to say, because we're talking about the Newcastle-Everton game, you're talking about the depth, and if there's one thing I can highlight, I mean, you've already said a lot of the things there, Nick, but one thing that we can say between Everton in terms of what's happened, not having the depth, but both of their fullbacks weren't playing. And it just shows you when you've got a James and you've got a Lucas Dieng at left back, you can put in the ball, put in the delivery, there's something for Calvert-Lewin to work off. I question Ancelotti in terms of him playing Sigurdsson next to or behind Calvert-Lewin. For me, that doesn't make sense because of a player like that who's got that quality, rather stick him out wide to whip the ball in. So I didn't understand that decision. I also think Sigurdsson has passed his sell-by date. I think his time has come and gone. So it's probably a play we'll see moved on sometime soon. But the difference between the top sides at the moment and the others are the quality of fullbacks. We've seen it in, say, United. Arsenal attacking down the right-hand side, putting Luke Shaw under pressure, which for me was ironic because I actually thought when I saw the starting lineup of Arsenal, I know you guys touched on this game, but I missed that conversation, was that I actually thought Arsenal were weakest on the right-hand side because I think Bellerin's, personally, I think he's a good player. I like him. When I met him, I thought he's the coolest guy I've ever worked with. But I don't think he's the same sort of caliber as a Trent Alexander-Arnold. And when I say that, I'm talking specifically in terms of going forward and delivery, right? And yet, that is where they hurt United the most. So when I'm looking at it, Everton, losing both fullbacks was a huge loss. Losing James was a huge loss. And then you got Richarlison. So, they're in big shit with no fullbacks. That's how teams are playing. Leicester at the moment, they won last night convincingly. They put a team like Leeds under pressure, which is fine. It worked well. Rodgers is also showing a lot of depth and a lot of strategic flexibility in terms of knowing what to do at the right times. But one thing they have at the moment is they've got great fullbacks. That by the end of the season, people are probably going to be looking at trying to buy again, like a Chilwell.
Yeah. I was very impressed with Leicester last night. I think Bielsa was showing up. They pressed, and they broke their press completely by just having Barnes and Vardy just running behind. It was incredible to see because they would suck them into one area, and that, by the way, that Fofana that plays in at centre back,
he's amazing.
Is a good little player, not little, but he's got good feet on him, and he can pass the ball. But they looked really rapid against a really good Leeds team who pressed for 90 minutes, and I just think by February, I think Leeds will probably fall away because you can't. I just don't think they can do what they did in the Championship here in the Premier League, especially with the personnel that they have. So Leicester is a notable team where I am quite happy that you brought them up. But in terms of Chelsea, I'm happy Werner scored.
Because you're fantasy.
Still my captain.
Sorry, man, guys. I gotta just say this before we talk about Chelsea. Man, Celo, is that the next big signing, the next big money signing? Ole's gonna attract Sigurdsson from Everton.
Come on.
Marcus thinks so.
Come on. Sigurdsson needs to go home back to Iceland to retire, man.
Shame. He's got other places before he stops in Iceland. Okay, Nick, you were saying the Chelsea game.
No, I'm chuffed. I didn't watch the game. I'll be honest. I just followed it, and I saw Kurt Zuma came in there with a second, and Werner sealed it with a third. I think it was Ziyech with the first. It was a convincing win for them. I worry about Burnley. I think you're probably right with the fans. It might be a big detriment to them this season. Probably their 12th sort of man. But probably the win that Chelsea needed coming off a draw with Man United, trying to get back on track. I don't know. They're sort of attacking, we've said it, they're attacking players, probably comparable to any of the top sort of 4 teams in the league. But the big question mark is, can they keep it out the back? Can they get the balance right? Can Frank actually find his best on 11? I think that's the biggest question that we have to sort of ask. And I'm not too sure if he can, because it is very inconsistent at the moment. I don't know what your thoughts are, lads.
I think with Chelsea, most of their fans were, very happy the fact that he moved away from the whole double pivot formation, because he decided to play Kante as a 6 and play Havertz and Mount as 8, where it allowed them to attack more and to keep the front foot a bit more. Obviously, I don't think you can use that formation against the bigger sides, but against the smaller teams, where the smaller teams will be defensive minded, I think that is a formation that he can use against a smaller team. And using Ziyech on the right and then Werner on the left and Abraham in the middle. I think, Chelsea can definitely, do well this season and be in the top 4 with the options that they have, as you said. And I think the defense is getting better. And I think he's settled. He's almost settled on his back 4. He just needs to decide whether it's going to be Azpilicueta or Reece James at right back, because he's been rotating the right back, but otherwise in the centre back, Silva and Zuma, left back Chilwell, and maybe kept another clean sheet, and he's been doing well. They just need to keep him fit, whatever happens, because if you get back to Kepa, you know what's going to happen. There'll be a mistake, goal.
Open gates.
Kepa is guaranteed, that he will concede a goal, but Mendy has done well to come in. And I think that the Chelsea can definitely do well. Something that I want to bring up is the fact that Pulisic got injured just before the start of the game. So he got injured in the warm up, and he's getting a lot of injuries, man. I'm worried that he might be a person that's going to be forever injured and never realize his full potential. When he moved, he was injured. Start of the season, he was injured. He didn't finish the season. He's been injured previously at Brighton, and it's just these niggling injuries, man. Quite similar to like a Ousmane Dembele, who muscle injuries.
I don't know if it's a fair comparison. I don't know. I say fair is probably the wrong word. I don't know if it's an exact comparison.
It's almost like going that direction,
Yeah, but the reason I say the comparison is probably not similar is the professionalism of both players. I will say this, like if I'm looking at a Pulisic and the injuries that are recurring, there's 2 things we can take into consideration is that we know Lampard is all about the training. So there might be a certain level of intensity that is expected at a training. So you've got a young player like him who knows he's got this potential, really wants to make an impact. He really wants to impress Lampard. So he's pushing more than he should. And this is why he's probably not nursing the injuries, coming back slowly. I know. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I was always injured. I just didn't have that voice inside of my head that said, just take it easy today. I was like, no, every day I need to push and do something. And every day something happened and I was out. So I think that's something that he probably needs to learn. He's still young and he can learn it, but he needs an arm around the shoulder from a Lampy. Mr. Lampy, he needs to say, hey, boy, just take it easy, sit down, watch a couple of games.
Come on, Frank.
We'll bring you back in.
Come on, Frank.
Come on, Frankie.
No, you need to take it easy, man. Like the international break is coming up. 21st of November will be the next time they play after this weekend. So you need to take it easy. I think USA playing Wales and the international break doesn't need to play that game.
Wales hot topic at the moment today. Anyone see what happened in Wales?
Yeah, we saw. Hey, man, that guy needs to sort himself out, man. He needs to sort himself out, man.
Wonga, are you still there?
I'm listening.
Oh. I thought you froze.
The man won this weekend. He said all he had to say at the beginning. He's happy. He doesn't.
Yeah. That's all. I'm still for the predictions.
Yeah, betting corner. What you said, it was 1-0. 1-0. The man knows football, guys. He knows the game.
I said Man United. Yeah, Man United not going to score more than one goal. That's what I said.
Okay.
And they scored nothing.
Yeah. But we'll see.
Okay. On that question, guys, there's a Champions League final. You've got three options between a manager. You've got Solskjaer, you've got Lampard, and you've got Arteta. Who do you take?
Surely you add Steve Bruce in there. Come on, man. Come on.
Steve Bruce might win it. He might win it.
No one knows what to expect.
Wait for extra time. Send on Andy Carroll and get something. Yeah, but serious. Between the three, who would you guys go for?
Now I'll
go for Arteta.
I'll go for Arteta because Arteta's won the FA.
Ole, Frank Lampard, and Arteta.
Frank, definitely.
Now I'll go for Arteta because Arteta's won the FA Cup and Community Shield. He's got experience of winning. So
Frank's won the Champions League,
and he's got
as a player, bro.
As a coach.
He's been there.
We're talking coaches, yeah.
Arteta's never smelt the Champions League, man.
Lampard's going to concede.
Look, it's in the comments section. We've got Marcus, we've got Jamsey, we've got Scott, all saying the same thing. All saying the same thing, guys. And that is
no,
Arteta,
not Frank,
Lampard,
dude. Arteta.
Lampard,
what are you smoking?
I don't agree with you, Frank.
Listen, Arteta beat Frank Lampard in the FA Cup final. That in itself, and other performances against big teams, I just say Arteta, man.
Please,
Who do you say, Claudio?
No, I would definitely. I'd go with Arteta, man. I just think Arteta. Look, Scott says Lamps and Ole have been thrown in to a degree.
Check what Marcus is saying.
Yeah,
you guys respect Mount.
Yes. Frank, he's right. I agree with Marcus. Please put that one on, man. Frank is all over the budget. He is. Frank is all over the budget. That's all he is. Frank is all over the budget.
Oh my sake.
But Ole had a budget too. I don't know what you're saying. They both have had budgets.
Ole couldn't spend
what I'm saying is, my first choice was Steve Bruce, so that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I could go with the Steve Bruce. I think I could go with the Steve Bruce. But I do I think Arteta. Look, Arteta. For me, I just think he's a football guy. I think he thinks about every scenario. I would like to see. He's obviously shown he's learned from the past previous things. We'll see. Obviously, this was a big result for them. This was huge. This was something they can build on, even though it is United. But I mean, we know Ole is probably going to win on the weekend now. You know, that's what he does. He's a bit of a yo-yo.
It took them 14 years, man. That's not an easy thing, man. 14.
No,
years.
It's not.
So yeah, we have to give him his props, man.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And Man United are on form. I always said it's not easy to stop a team on form. They were firing.
But also,
games.
do you not think they were? I'm not. Actually, screw it. I don't care how it sounds, Celo. If it sounds disrespectful, whatever. If we look at
you said worse things.
Yeah, if we look at the results against PSG and we look at the results against Red Bull, okay, the 5-0 was probably. It was definitely not a 5-0 result. Those goals right at the end, it was a bit of a collapse of a team towards the end.
Yeah, it should have been a 2-0.
True.
And PSG also probably not the best side that they've had in the last couple of years. So when we're taking those names into consideration, the reputation that's carried with it, that's somewhat inflated the results to not really put Ole down so much, but that's kind of what it is. So maybe it was us, the fans, who got a little bit more carried away than what we should have. And okay, wait, let's see if Ole. I think Ole just doesn't know how to make the hard decisions.
No, the thing is as well is that it's not that those teams were weakened or anything. Like PSG still had Neymar and Mbappe on the field, so I don't know what you're talking about. But at the end of
the rest of the squad, man.
But Mbappe and Neymar, and Di Maria, I don't know what you're doing about. That's their.
You can have two great strikers, but if the rest of the team aren't functioning, what are you doing?
Di Maria was playing. That's their normal attack. Di Maria that's the front three. If they front three,
all he's talking is attacking, though, dude. Ole knows how to play an attacking side. He doesn't know how to beat Newcastle.
Listen, but you see, that's probably not allowing me. You're not allowing me to say that. You know what I mean? You must also allow people to speak. What I'm saying is that PSG, right, is that Solskjaer has proved it last season, right, which he's not doing it this season. Solskjaer did well against top 6 sides last season. He beat Chelsea twice. Okay, cool. He got 1 point against Liverpool. He beat Spurs twice. He beat City twice. You know what I mean? So he beat 3 of the top 6 teams twice last season, right? And got draws, and got a draw against the team which not many teams got a draw against. So last season he did well, right? And then you bring it over to this season. This season is it seems like all his best performances are for the Champions League. You know, Premier League, to be honest, he's only had one good performance, which is against Newcastle. But you know, it's he knows how to set up in a way to frustrate another team, right? So he frustrated PSG, he frustrated Leipzig, but then now you come and you play against a Chelsea and a Tottenham that you're frustrating them. They're frustrating you. You understand what I'm saying? So he can't now. I don't know. He lacks that tweak to
experience
to attack the team, because he does very well where he's the person who's going to the match as the frustrator.
All I can say is, for me, it comes down to his experience. I know Scott thinks I'm yanking your chain here. I think it's just experience. I think United is one of the biggest clubs in the world. It used to be the biggest club, definitely not the biggest club anymore. But he's been thrown into this position where he was in Norway before this. So these sort of tactical decisions that need to be made, and the hesitation that comes in his part is because he hasn't made them enough. And I think that's the shortfall, fortunately.
No, I definitely agree. You know, I've always said that you know, in-game management and his tactics leave a lot to be desired at the end of the day. You know, there's some glaring mistakes that he makes often within the game. Just simple things, simple tweaks that he could make in a match. But yeah, no, I definitely agree with Scott there. You guys need to, you know, sometimes put some at his name. You know what I mean? You know, so, but yeah. But
I agree with what Marcus is saying. Marcus is saying you guys sound like Wolves supporters. We celebrate being top 6. You guys need to be winning every week. That's Marcus. That's one of your own people saying that. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
No. I agree. Inconsistency is the name of Solskjaer, man. His only consistency was after lockdown.
So before we move on, and I know I'm giving you a bit of a hard time here because I'm not sure if Wonga did, because Wonga's just, it's funny. I actually don't like Arsenal doing well, because then Wonga just sits there happy when they do well. But with Ole now, Selo, realistically speaking, what do you think the next steps are for United? Do you guys carry on as is, or do you guys make a decision? What happens?
Come on, man. It's hard for me to make. We're just fans.
What would you like to see? What would you like
if
to
it
see?
was you?
We just watch on the outside, man. So what you have to do is just to back the manager. No one ever likes their team to lose. You know what I mean? You know, I've seen some Man United fans saying he should lose so he can lose his job. No ways, man. I don't like our team losing. You know, rather have them winning, and then he can be out at the end of the season or something like that. But in an ideal world, I'd rather get a manager who has better know-how in terms of tactics and in-game management.
Bruce.
That's Steve. Yeah, that's Steve. But yeah, no, that's Steve Bruce. But Ole, yeah, I mean, his time is running out. He needs to watch out. If he loses to Everton, he's gone.
So Ole out.
Yeah, but yeah, that's that. But then to bring back to Claudio, just to also ask you a good question is that are we now going to see Firmino being benched because he's not offered much except for pressing Liverpool, pressing Arsenal, pressing Chelsea, and scoring the goal against Sheffield. That's the three things he's done this season so far. And Jota is doing well, man. He scored 4 goals or 5 goals this season. I think he definitely deserves a start.
Yeah, I think, look, Firmino, he's just waiting for another final. We know he likes scoring in the finals, so that's why he's taking it easy. But
if you don't make it to a final like last season,
we're making it to finals. Don't worry about it. We can play. We underdog mentality. That's even though we're champions, we play with underdog mentality. I think Jota, like you said, Jota is asking good questions. I like what Jota is doing. I mean, 3 goals at home this week, fantastic. I think it does begin. It's good because he keeps the likes of a Salah and a Mane on their toes as well, not just a Firmino. Firmino's, for me, is always going to have a place to a certain extent, whether he leads the line as a number 9 or he plays behind as a number 10. Klopp will find a way. But what I do like is that Salah is learning to adapt his game a little bit more and play centrally as well. So there's that other option. Right now, that's what Jota's done for us. And like I said before, I think he's got a high ceiling to reach. And right now, he's soaring. So let's just keep boy. Like I said, if someone's feeling confident, they've got to play. And even if he is going to be an impact player for 30 minutes, he's prepared, he's professional enough. And if he's going to play 90 minutes or if he's going to play 30 minutes, the player's prepared to come on and give everything, which is a good situation to be in if you're a manager.
No, definitely. I agree.
True.
Sorry, I'm busy reading the comments. Yeah. Keep going there, Wonga.
Yeah, no, I'm saying there's not much Salah has to adjust to if you just dive in the box.
Yeah, and be selfish and not pass the ball. You know what I mean? There's not much he has to do. You know what I mean?
But speaking about that, you can see even I don't know, maybe I didn't watch the other teams, but I saw Maroon when Tottenham played. Yes, it looked like those guys were looking for a penalty. First minute of the game, Son went down, I think twice in the box. Kane got his one, tried it again, but yes, I think it is. I mean, that's how Bruno is. I mean, he's gonna try and get. Yes, he's gonna get a goal from anything. You know, if you could score. So he was. You could see that was literally what he told his players. I found that quite interesting.
All right, lads. I think that's been a good session for us today. We've gone a bit crazy. We didn't really stick to any of the formats that we normally stick to, but it's fine. It was a bit more of a free flow. Celo, did you feel good today? Was this a bit of a consolation, sort of, to get things off your chest, to move past the result of the weekend, or did this just put more pressure on yourself?
I got things off my chest on the weekend, man. On Sunday, there was some idiots talking rubbish on social media. I had to defend my man Pogba, and people were trying to calling me names and stuff. But yeah, I can't argue with people who can't think rationally. You know what I mean? You know, if Man United loses and everyone has a shit game, blame Pogba. You know what I mean? If Man United wins and Pogba has an assist and does well, Man United did well. You know what I mean? So he never gets credit. He just gets all the hate.
Yeah, I will end off on the note saying I did feel for Pogba for the first time ever. I'm not his biggest fan, but I will say I did feel for him there. He was actually tracking back, and I'll give him that. Before we go, Scott does reckon something that I mentioned last week, by the way, is Julian Nagel is a possible candidate. Nick, we lost you towards the end there. I don't know if there's some bird messaging you on the side, but you seem to be distracted. Anything you want to say?
I said, I agree with you with the Nagelsmann comment from Scotty, but I think we spoke about this. Will he go to a club where he's not backed, where he's not given everything that he's been given at his current club? So that's the sort of thing that, you know, as a Man United fan or a player, a coach going into a setup like that, the fans need to know that the coach that comes in has to abide by what Man United is as a club and sort of what their blueprint is. And I think the blueprint is the actual problem at the moment. But I'm happy. My team won. We 2 points or third or fourth. So I'll take it, man.
That's one step closer to avoid relegation. Well done, Nick. Wonga, last thing you want to say?
Take the W. Nah, nothing I want to say. Just the next game, we'll see you guys on Thursday. That's all. Just take the W, Nick. That's all we do. Take the W.
I don't know if I can do that.
Wait. Everyone with the W, just let's show it. Let's show it.
Take the W.
There's an odd man out there. Jamesy says that Pogba got bullied by Partey, and I think that's logic because he wasn't invited to the party. He was a bit of a bouncer there at Old Trafford, which is funny because it wasn't even Partey's party to be bouncing people. It wasn't his house. It was United's house. Right, lads. Thank you very much for joining me. I'll see you guys on Thursday. Silo, bring that smile. Nick, stop messaging the birds next time. And Wonga, I don't know if I want your side to win again because you tend to say far less when they do. All right. Cheers, guys.
Sure, guys.
I don't know. Is it still going?
Yeah, we're still on.